everybody knows and is familiar with. And the pier that we don't really have a name for, we've been calling it the Octagon Pier, we've been calling it the West Side Pier, the Lunatic Asylum Pier. Drawing for when it was built in 1997, it's just called North Pier. 97. Or it was completed in 1997. So it's just called North Pier. The Prow has always been the Prow. So we're obviously working on correcting this issue with the Prow. As I mentioned before, we're doing some geotechnical work to figure out what the subsurface conditions are like and whether when we go in to do the repairs to make sure that the foundation can actually support the structure and we don't run into the same issue again.
And do you know what it looks like I-beam used to go down, I guess, as a support?
Our engineers are doing a structural analysis also to figure out what other supports need to go on the inside. It looks like there's an I-beam that basically probably went into the seawall, probably like tied in or bracketed. Yeah, it's hard.
But then the pieces down there, it's hard to tell with the water, but it looks like maybe they just don't, like they used to go down, but they've rotted away.
I think that they actually do. I think you just can't tell. I think that they're wooden, which is the problem. So, and some of them, I think they're metal and wooden. So I think that maybe the surface of the water, or they need to just be encased, which is probably more likely than not what you would do. You wouldn't drive new piles because it would be pretty challenging to get permits to drive new piles. And then we would obviously fix these cosmetic parts of it, and the decking on top and everything like that since we're doing it. This pier over here presented a different challenge. Just a background, all these piers were built as part of the third water tunnel work by DEP in the mid-90s. So they actually built both of them because the water tunnel basically runs under where we're standing right now. And so that is what we know. This one was added on at a certain point. The fender was added at a later date, not known to me as yet. And so basically, what we want to look at this area is obviously there's a lot of paved surface. You were walking up here, there's not a lot of shade either. We think that there's an opportunity to green this up a bit more. There are plants here which helps, but planting some trees, creating some shade structure, making the paving a bit smoother so it's more navigable for people and creating like a better connection north towards Octagon and then further south to the rest of the Esplanade area. But obviously trees and shade are also really important. Also just in terms of, so I think everybody's familiar with doing the Prow, we're still evaluating what caused this failure and what the potential fix is for it. It's unknown right now. It's super complicated. It's a concrete decked, pile supported platform. So we have to jump through many, many regulatory hoops to reconstruct it regardless. So we want to make sure we really understand what that looks like. So we have engineers doing an initial assessment report of this right now. But in the meantime, we want to try to find ways to make this area a little more pedestrian friendly too. Especially because if, there are lots of cyclists who come this way, there's lots of pedestrians, so not creating visual confusion for them as they're walking through. But also creating an amenity space as well. Once these piers are back online and running, and people feel like it's a place to gather. And it also continues again the fact that you have open space immediately to the north, and then sort of just a paved surface. A very warm paved surface.
Personally, I think we don't need the second pier, even though it was the pier that led to the hospitals, and I have pictures of the ferry boats landing here to go to the different hospitals. So it's been here since.
So there was an original pier here?
Yes, because there was a ferry that went from 78th Street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, until 1950s. A ferry from 78th across to the hospital for the people who worked at the hospitals and stuff. And the funny thing is that some days the tide was so bad, the guy would have to go running a half a mile to catch the boat to get the ferry. So there's been a pier much longer than that. And to me, clean this up. I'm sorry, I love the sanctuary, but they can't have their own piazza here. Someone has to say whose border, whose turf it is. This is a horrible mess. Also, clean up this. There is a fence in back of that for the water tunnel. But this is really, if they want to have a parking area, they have to find something better than this. Because it just looks terrible. You walk here and then until you get to past the ball field to Manhattan Park, that looks terrible.
And it's really a harsh, it's a harsh walk when you're walking this area too. Like there's flat, there's no shade. There's obviously parks there, but there's no other sort of activation. So you're sort of just like, where do I go? So creating some through, and also just create, again, to like delineate where you're supposed to go. Like as a pedestrian, where do you walk? As a cyclist, where do you go?
Where's the closest bathroom?
Where's the closest restroom?
Not fair.
It's right. It's in the ball field, but no, there's not one sign from the street leading to it. The new
And
field, you know.
Judy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the road used to wrap through here to the entrance to the water.
I can look at my map.
Yeah, but I
come
think
on- when you
that
come on
this
Friday-
used to where these
yeah.
trees and the fence are. I think this used to be a road.
I think
that
you're
went
right.
Back
I think
through.
it was a loop road too, because I saw some
So-
older drawings that showed that it was like
Yeah.
they basically created the space where they have all their equipment.
Yeah,
And is it?
because-
I mean, they have. I've gone around the other
Yeah.
side to the
Yes.
security gate, and I mean they don't really have a whole lot of equipment back there.
They have a lot of storage stuff.
They have a lot of equipment. You just
I
can't
just
see it.
walked by
Right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's where the main pump station is for the island, also.
Right.
In addition to the tunnel, so like it's a lot of dead space. I agree. Like there's a lot of offsets that they require, but it's a ton of dead space that's there.
But the sign says completed 2007. Expected completed 2007.
January.
Yeah. I just took a picture of it.
Well, it's good that it's done, even though the sign's still up.
Well, it's not really done because they built a whole chlorination plant underneath. We're not
Mhm.
supposed to know that.
I'm wondering, could you have some like water mist spray as people are going along this pathway?
They've been like,
you know?
I know that they've been looking at putting misters in public parks a lot. I think that they did. I think they did it at Domino. They put misters in there, but like we need to think about that. Like as temperatures get hotter, and obviously we've witnessed it, but there needs to be some relief. And every location isn't going to be a place where you can put a shade structure. It's just not going to be functional. There's utilities underneath, but I think we have to look at misters. I think we have to look at them in parks. And in some of like our larger sort of congregation areas, like we're really busy bus stops and areas adjacent to the subway and the tram, like we're gonna have to think about those things for sure.
And with the current Legionnaires.
Maybe not right now, creating Legionnaires for sure.
Yeah.
That's not when I would do it.
Yeah.
We're a little too close to the Upper East Side for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
For example,
They were like 30
fountain,
of them, and they
love the
kept
fountain,
moving.
love the trees. Most of it's concrete with very light colour, it reflects the heat straight back up. So if we can have more green on the island,
Yes.
some concrete pathway as well, that doesn't sound like it's that expensive. That would
Also, like removing, I agree, like this asphalt, all it does is just make it hotter everywhere. And if there's an opportunity too to look at permeable pavers where it stops flooding, it helps a little bit. You can use it in like a gray water system to water plants, but we have so many impermeable surfaces too. It's really challenging. It's the nature of when this was built, like that we're going to have more impermeable surfaces. But thinking about pavement changes, especially in these areas where we might be able to put more trees, but we don't know if we can put more trees. We have to think about how do you make it the least sort of excruciating for people to walk. I mean, even further north, if you go towards Lighthouse Park, it's the same way. The area around Nellie Bly is so hot compared to the rest of that park. There you have a bigger challenge because you can't put in trees because of the water table and stuff like that. So there's going to be areas where you can't find solutions, but areas where we can replace pavers. It's a cosmetic fix, but it's one that actually has longer term value where you're getting direct sunlight.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of asphalt, and that's part of the challenge. And the Z-bricks that we have in most places also don't help. Like they just absorb the calcium, which we'll see tomorrow when it's a real feel of 104.
And obviously for us here, both the Pier and the Graduate have been a very big concern for for brides and customers and things. Obviously both are sort of very TBD overall, but I know with the Prow there's a plan that timing is still open, but at least we know that there's some
Yeah,
budget
we're
and
expecting
there's-
like this evaluation, this engineering evaluation, we're expecting the report next month. So we should have a sense of what we need to do. It's going to be the permitting that is for this work, especially because it's probably going to be fairly intrusive and fairly in-water dependent. That is going to probably drag out the timeline, to be very honest, for both of these, is going to push the timeline out. Because the in-water restrictions are painful, for lack of a better term, but they protect the fish and other species. whatever they might be. But the idea is like we have to, that's going to really constrain us in terms of when we can do the work. But again, I think here we know what the challenge is, and we know, generally speaking, how we solve for the problem. This is, again, this could be very cost prohibitive to replace.
I wonder with this if, and especially since Judy mentioned that it was a ferry dock before, so it's probably, it looks like the end of it is a pretty substantial
Defender,
construction, and then it's the the walkway.
Yeah,
that
it's just
seems to
the
be-
deck that is the.
So I wonder if there's an easier way to literally bridge between that. Then you don't necessarily need to even go down.
There's a chance that we don't have to. That's why we want them to the initial assessment. There's a chance we just have to build a new deck, and that can be like, it doesn't have to be a concrete deck. It can be a wooden deck, and that's easier for maintenance, long-term maintenance and repair.
And you don't even necessarily have to have that.
No, the foundations can actually, if the foundations are sound, then you can just build on top. It's basically what they call like a replacement in kind. You're just you're not changing the footprint. You're not doing any additional in-water work. You're basically just doing a deck replacement. That would be the best case scenario. Like if we could just do a deck replacement.
I'm curious that I don't know if the original pier was this long.
I think it actually ended before that fender at the end. I think the original one was shorter, and the fender they added a little bit later. Even when they first built this.
They wanted one of those boats to get close.
Yeah, and you're not docking a boat.
No, you're not docking a boat. This is just purely decoration.
Do you think next summer the Prow could be open, or is that too or you don't
I think
know
it's
yet?
too early to say. I think it's going to depend on the extent of the actual work. Also, I mean, this is going to require some restoration and specialty materials, so lead times for that could be longer. And it's going to depend on what work we have to do. It would be great for me if I could tell you that first with any certainty, but I don't have any certainty to be able to tell you that right now. I might have more in a few weeks, like in terms of like time frame. But the permitting really is the hard part, because that's really sort of unpredictable. And we do have to we don't have to get sign off from DP, but we may have to confer with them if there's something more significant than just cosmetic that we have to do. They don't have approval of it, but we just need to run it by them just because they have this asset behind us. So.
Well, do you know if they're planning on changing the surface? The steel?
Sort of the skin of it.
The skin.
I don't know actually if that's something that they're looking at, or a more durable metal. I'm not sure if it may require not just panel replacement but more wholesale. We'll see what the report says.
Well, I wonder just the way it sits. I wonder how much it needs the support.
Yeah, I'm guessing it needs that support. That probably holds most of it up, to be very honest. I mean, it is fairly sturdy. I think that it's built pretty well for what is a decorative pier. Essentially, like a decorative. It was built as a concert type venue, so like it's from what I read in a news article. Yeah, so it was built sort of as like a public event space. So it's pretty sturdy for what is like a recreational pier. So we'll
There's
see.
been enough recreating on it. Don't worry, it survives since
Yeah.
1992. And it's been graffiti thousands.
Yeah. And I think we want to look at a treatment, which we talked about too, a treatment for whatever surface we apply to this that has a graffiti-resistant coating, so that we can just power wash it off, and it doesn't require replacement of panels, because things have come a long way and there's ways to do it. And we just want to make sure, again, like once we're doing the repair, that we actually have like a long-term strategy also for the maintenance and warranties and things like that.